All right, so I'm here with Becca, and today we're talking about a topic where we've got a little bit extra time in Scottsdale again, and we wanted to, I guess it's not again, it's part of the same gap we had, but we wanted to talk about why we continue. I guess I wanted to talk about it, not necessarily something you didn't want to talk about, but it's something I wanted to talk about, because I think it's important, like why we decided to continue doing Maximum Lawyer. And I've got some questions I think people might have for you. You might have questions for me, but I do think it's important. I first want to talk kind of about like how everything sort of transpired, I guess. Transpired sounds like a conspiratorial word, but nothing crazy went down. No. I've talked about the other episode about like how Jim and I like we're still great friends, all kinds of stuff too. Like he and I were just texting and all that, but he even texted me, which I passed on to you, some ideas for.
Yeah, that was great.
The Maui mastermind. But because he and I had been kind of talking about it for months, and at a certain point where it was something, it was clear he wanted to leave and kind of do his thing with the firm and everything. And but I feel like there was a gap between like that decision and like when we told you. And I remember like he and I were like, I know I had to feel like this massive burden on me, and like I also had some fear because it was like, well, is Becca gonna want to leave? Like it was like that was like, oh man, like I was like terrified of that because as I told you, whenever I told you, I was like, I would like to keep doing it, but I only want to do it if you're involved because it's a ton of work. Right. So I do wonder like what your thoughts. Did you sense it coming?
I thought that there was the possibility, but I was still surprised when I found out.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
So like you didn't, I guess you didn't expect it
Not
that
on the
day.
call, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
like we were on a team call, and I think we were even. It was more casual. Like we were actually like working, and then it was like I have something to say, and then I was surprised.
Is it at the end of the call? Is that what it was?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. I could see how that could be a little
right.
Like, oh, wait a second. You're going to drop this on me?
In the future, let's lead with it.
Oh, I think that's probably wise.
That would be my preference.
Yeah, that's a wise decision.
Okay.
That's a smart. Well, hopefully there's no next time. You know, there's no big decisions like that. So you hear it. You're like, it's probably, you're not going to process it all right away.
Right.
It's like, what was going through your head? Afterwards, like so you.
Yeah. So is the company going to continue on or not? Is the simple question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, once I told you, like, yeah, I want to keep doing it, and that yes, we're gonna keep going. Like, I guess what was going through your head? Because, I guess I'm not gonna flat out say, hey, dude, were you thinking about leaving? I don't think that'd be fair to you, but. I also don't know if I want to know the answer, but I just wondered like what went through your mind and like when it comes to your decision and like to stay and to keep doing this, because like, I don't think people realize like the amount of work that you do. Like for the last 4 years, like you have been the driving force in like getting everything done. So I do wonder like what was going through your head.
I mostly just needed to make sure that you wanted to be the business owner of two separate businesses. And I said that to you.
Yeah.
But that was my biggest thing. It's the community that we've built, a coaching company, an events company, a podcast, none of it can be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Sure.
So that's what to know that like I could stay and we could do this and we were really going to build it for what it could be. I just needed to know that it's something that fit into your life and that you actually wanted.
So you, and I don't want to misquote you. It was basically like you want to know I was committed, I guess, or it was like I was in, like I was going to do this, like.
Yeah, but that also that genuinely that it fit into your life and that you wanted to be like a two business owner.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask this kind of two different ways.
Okay.
When I first said yes. Mm-hmm. Did you believe me?
No.
And then, okay.
Yeah.
And then the second part, now we've gotten to this point, do you believe me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't like prolonged. I feel like I wanted you to take time to think about it when I asked you that, sure. And you didn't. You just said, yeah, we're doing this. And I was like, that's not what I was hoping for. I wanted you to take time and really like consider it.
Well, by that point, I had thought about
sure.
it.
Sure. And I didn't know that.
You didn't realize how much time I'd given.
Correct. I did not.
Because we had options. Like there were things we could have just shut it all down.
Yes.
like we could have sold it. Like there's a lot of things we should like. I ultimately end up buying it. You know, like it's a different. And I don't think most people. I think a lot of people may not realize that. Like that. No, I bought it. You know, like it's not something that's just it just kept going on. Like there's money involved in this.
Yeah.
That so there's some money in the game when it comes to this. So that I wonder what talking with Jeremy and stuff like that. What was it? Was there a time where you're like, oh man, what's the future gonna hold kind of a thing? I wonder what those conversations were like.
No, I mean, what I was relaying to him really was just how excited you seemed to be about continuing on, changing some things, and trying to like really grow this. So he's behind that 100%. Yeah.
So I guess before we transition into, and I was gonna kind of sense that because although I was worried that you might leave, I always sensed that you really wanted to. Like, we've had lots of conversations like that. You really wanted to grow this thing, and you really wanted to like do something special with it, and because and we just had our other episode about like you really care, like you really give a shit, and so I was like I felt that you were going to want to, so but I was a little nervous, but before we move on to like why we decided to stay, I do wonder, like, do you have any questions like for me about anything when it comes to like the transition and my thought process? I wonder.
My only like in-depth thought about it was, like I said, I wanted you to really consider you being the sole owner of two separate businesses and trying to grow them simultaneously. And I think that when I asked it, it just seemed like you maybe hadn't thought it through, and you were just like, yes, we're going to do it.
Yeah. So I was ready to go. I did a lot of soul searching. I took a lot of time to think about it. It was tough. Okay. So why did you decide like, I want to do this?
Well, I love this company in general. So I would call myself more of like a multi-passionate. So if I was only doing one thing, the same thing, like let's just say, for example, like I could never work in a call center. Like I can't do one thing. But when you look at Maximum Lawyer as a community, as a podcast, as in-person events and coaching, I love that there's so much that we offer and that I get to work on all of it. So that's what I love about this business. I also really just like business and entrepreneurship in general, like even personally. So the fact that our business helps other business owners is just a huge bonus for me.
Yeah, it is pretty rewarding. It's something that's, it's just seeing what I think is so cool is you see some of the people that are really at their worst, where they're really struggling. Mm-hmm. Okay, and after, let's say a year, okay, you then see where they've grown to, and like how their mindset has shifted, how much more confident they are, they're making money, like that is awesome to see.
Yeah, it really is. I agree with that. The mindset piece was what I was gonna touch on. I noticed that one the most, where you can really see growth in say like 12 to 18 months, where someone came in and they're more like, when I say came into the guild, that's how we get to know them a lot better. But they come in and they're like, I am either struggling with my business or I'm just starting it. And they kind of seem just more lost, and they're just looking for traction. And then a year later, they're talking strategy and making decisions. And that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. The people that we kind of see struggle, I think they can't get past the mindset part of it. And a lot of times they're just too hard on themselves, which sucks, but really for no reason. They, in their head, they think it's a good reason. And I just wish sometimes you want to shake them and you're like, listen, you're awesome. Like, you got to know that you're awesome, and act like it. You know what I mean? Like but it's sometimes just people can't get past it. And it's a shame because you want to help them so badly.
Agreed. So that's one thing that I also have liked about Maximum Lawyer in general from the beginning. I caught on to, I'm really into personal development in general. You are as well. And we incorporate that into the business. So I think that there's plenty of different services and coaching and things for law firms where it's like, this is the business strategy and this is what you need to do. And then they just completely ignore the personal development, the growth that they need, the mindset shift that they need to have. And I think that the way that we add that into business is super important. And I also just really I like that topic a lot, growing personally.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I mean, early on, like really early on, I just didn't realize how much like the personal side of things, like when it comes to health and when it comes to just like taking care of yourself physically and mentally and making sure that your house is in order, all that kind of stuff. It's all intertwined with the business stuff, which I think is why we've incorporated all that into the content we produce.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. So yes, over in the Guild, we do talk a lot about, like in the hot seats, for example, you do talk a lot about how people think about things rather than just how they're doing things.
Sure. It's an easy tell is like the way they talk.
Resistance.
Yeah. Or no, not just that, but like the way they describe things. I'll use a really basic example. Like in the morning, you could get up and say, "Oh, I've got to go do this thing today," or "I get to go do this thing today." It's things like that. Yeah. No one's going to say that on the hot seat, but like, that's the whole concept behind it is it's an easy tell to figure out how they're doing from a mindset standpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I do want to get, before we kind of run out of time, because we're kind of limited on time here, like a little bit like as to like why I decided to stay. Cause it was something that was, I went through like the whole process of like thinking about, what I wanted to do. Like I had a lot of fear. I mean, it's one of those things, I don't know how much I've like really shown that to you, but I mean, I definitely had fear. It was, are people going to keep listening? Are people going to like leave the Guild? And luckily that didn't happen. I was like, or is Becca going to leave? Like, cause that was a big part of it too. And it's like, if those things happen, I was like, in my head, I'm thinking like, if those things happen, like it would be crushing to me personally. There's that part too. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just awful.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, there were those, I let those negative thoughts creep in, but then it was ultimately like, do I still enjoy doing this? Right. Okay, in 10 years, like what would I want this thing to look like? I started I kind of got through the fear part of it, where I was like, okay, what are we going to do here? And then I was like, okay, I really love talking to other legal entrepreneurs, the new term that yes. I like that we're going to use. Do I still enjoy it? Yes. I'll be pretty frank. I was getting bored with the old setup of the shows. I was getting a little bored because we didn't have enough time to talk to people.
And also why we're in person now. That's another
yes.
change that we made. They're not all in person, but a lot of them are.
Yeah, and so it made it hard to like really dig into stuff and talk about them. Like it was too surface level. So I knew that had to change. I knew there were several things we had to change. Yeah. And we've changed those. I think it's better. I can tell you I enjoy doing these podcasts these a lot more. I can talk about anything. It's one of those things like I can talk about there. I mean, you talk about all the Vegas episodes. Yeah. I probably spent on some of them 90% talking about non-legal stuff and people may not like that. I enjoy it. It's one of those things like it makes me more passionate, but I do. This sounds so cliche. I enjoy helping those lawyers and like seeing those moments where like they grow. I really enjoy that part of it. That is so cool. And I also like learning about people just in general. Like we had that one episode where she told the whole story about getting burned by the coal and like all that stuff. Like just these stories, they're powerful. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too, is you had already hit on this. Running a business, you can't separate it from your personal life either. So when you're interviewing these people, these law firm owners, and you're telling their story, it is all relevant because none of our law firm owners are just their business. They're everything else as well. You had mentioned, though, that you were thinking through to yourself, what do I want Maximum Lawyer to look like in 10 years? What were your thoughts on that, or is there anything that you can share with us on? Because I don't think you've given me that answer.
I think I have. I think because it took me a while to shape it. It's not what it was 6 months ago. It's not what it is now. Like you and I, like there's some things you and I can't talk about yet because
correct.
But like we've already made some pretty big changes. We brought some things back. We brought the conference back. It's a much bigger organization. And I actually have, I'll say AOPA, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So I've told you that. Like that is, so there's a bigger, broader reach to it. There is a, for those of you, AOPA is a code for something. So I'm not, but there is it's a bigger organization. It's going to have more of a impact on the legal space than it's even had at this point. Because it's not lost on me the impact that the podcast has had on law firm owners. Like I do think it's had a massive positive impact on people. I know because people have told us so many times, but it can be so much more helpful and it can be so much better. And so it will take some time to do that. Yeah. And I in that episode, I told people we have got some big changes. It's going to take some time to get there. The things that you and I have planned, it's going to be awesome, but it's just going to take time to get there. It's not going to happen next month,
That's correct. I don't have them in front of me, but we also recently at a team meeting created core values for Maximum Lawyer. And so just speaking of the time that it'll take, we had also discussed, I don't think this is exactly how we worded it, but if it's not great, we're not going to give it to our people. Yeah. And so that kind of applies to why we're not just going to throw all of our things out there when they're not great. Yeah,
I think I had texted that to you early on, and then I copied and pasted the text on top of the Apple Note because if it's not great, we're not going to put it out. We talked about jokingly, if this episode sucks, we'll burn it.
We did, and we were serious.
Yeah, it won't air. Yeah. So that's the whole idea. Whether that's in the guild or outside the guild, it's just actually putting out great content. I'll probably go a little farther. I do think that maybe there were some episodes that we did before that we kind of mailed it in, and they weren't great episodes. And we don't want that. Yeah. Correct. So just being, brutally honest about the direction of things and the past and, going forward and all that kind of stuff too. I'm excited. So I think the future is going to be awesome.
Yeah. It's only going to get better.
Yeah. As Patrick Bet David says, future is bright. So I think that's fantastic. Cool.
Awesome.